Hi, Adrian here from Australian Muscle, and I am here with the one and only Warren-Davey from Primabolics.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in, and we are going to be discussing your amazing adrenal product, Restore. Good. Now, why Restore?
Restore was, being in stores, it had been looked at before to some extent. Stress. I think there was, adrenal products weren't completely new to the market, but nothing had quite hit the nail on the head. Nothing had come in and gone, let's drop the hammer on cortisol. Let's really, and not to the extent that I think that people experience it either. I find with people with their busy lifestyles, with work, family, commitments, with training, with dieting, with generally, even if you're not in fitness, just the sheer hectic modern lifestyle we lead. The amount of, I see high cortisol symptom pictures in everything from 18-year-old students right through to 20, shift workers of 20 years. Yep. I see people with massive adrenal dysregulation, and I think that the sort of formulas that were on the market to answer this sort of massive market weren't really potent enough. Yeah. They really, and they weren't tackling it from a lot of the common sort of areas. Like they didn't quite do it as comprehensively. So when I sort of wanted to make an adrenal supplement, and I coming from a background of mining, military as well myself, I found that like the people that I was, had as friends and family that I'd worked with, like they had some serious stress. They dealt with a lot in a day, and cortisol was off the charts. So most of the mining industry I worked in, military, same problem. So when I made an adrenal supplement, I wanted to be the gold standard. I wanted to be knocked out. Like let's knock cortisol down. Let's get this lowered and do it from every conceivable pathway. So I guess Restore was the thing that I made as my sort of break glass in case of emergency type formula. That will, if you ramp it up to the full 4 capsule serve, I've had insomniacs use it and who haven't slept in years, blackout and have, I had a woman in the UK only about 2 months ago, and she hadn't slept for more, I think it was more than 3 hours a night for 2 years. Got her on the 4 capsule serve. She slept 11 hours in the first night.
All right.
And she's one of about 3 insomniacs I've had in the last 6 months using it. This is like the almost guaranteed version to no matter what stage of adrenal dysregulation you're on, what stage of might be fatigue, whatever stresses you're dealing with. This is the guy that I made to go, let's actually be strong enough to meet that.
Yeah. Now, first off, a lot of people assume cortisol is bad. You don't want cortisol. But
fair.
Cortisol is the adrenal. It's a noradrenaline hormone, so it's a fight or flight response. You need cortisol in your life.
You do. You'll die without it.
But the bad thing, like you hit the nail on the head before that. Cortisol regulation it's so different these days because everything these days is a stressor. You could be sitting in traffic, someone honks the horn, stress response. You could eat something spicy, stress response. Yeah. Your bills aren't paid on time, stress response. Your boss is being a bit of a dick to you, stress response. Yeah. So your cortisol is out of whack all the time.
It is. It doesn't know the difference between like a life-threatening situation or just a novel thing like an email you might not want to read or a phone call from someone you don't want to talk to at that particular time. Like evolutionarily, it was so useful because it'll do some amazing things. Like cortisol is so necessary for putting us to gear our body up to deal with survival situations.
Of course,
it's, as cavemen, tiger chases us. It does all these great things, put us in flight or fight mode to deal with that situation.
Yeah, I mean, back in those times, you had one thing to worry about: what was going to eat you.
Bingo.
And now it's just everything is a stress.
It is, and it's sort of hijacking that ancient survival system to try and meet everyday needs. And the problem is all these, before it was massive survival. We'd have our life-threatening situation. Cortisol would come out, help us get through that by dumping plenty of sugar into your blood to get blood sugar up, burning through huge amounts of magnesium and zinc and B vitamins, gives you all the resources you need from a nutrient angle to deal with that situation. It would shut down digestion, pull blood into the working muscle, so it gets blood out into your muscle, try and supply it with fuel. It basically put your body in Superman mode, ready to go.
Yep.
And that's all cool. You'd deal with the stressful situation, the life-threatening situation, so you'd run away from whatever was chasing you. It would then dissipate, reward you with a nice little hit of dopamine as well, saying, well done, you've done this. And then there was a bit of a compensatory mechanism where you would go into rest and digest, your body would repair itself, and life was good, because it does all this wacky and amazing stuff when you're in that mode. Things like thickens your blood in case you were to bleed to death. It would help with blood clotting. It'll increase blood pressure, it'll increase heart rate, increases adrenaline. It does all these functions that are great when you're trying to survive. But in everyday life, when you're just sitting there reading an email, that isn't necessary. No. But so many people are running in just redlining all the time.
They're running in an opposite function.
Bingo.
High at night. low in the morning. Should be opposite around. You know, should be low in the morning, low at night, so it lulls you into sleep. High in the morning, so it wakes you up
and gives you that nice surge of energy in the morning. And that's what a lot of my customers were complaining about. They'll find in the evening, so they would drag us all day around that 2-3 p.m. have a massive energy dump as well. And then it start picking up in the evening, and it's this dysregulated stress system. Because what's happening is we're getting all these stressors, all these signals throughout the day from the traffic jam, from the stressful work, from the massive pre-workout we just took before a gym session, whatever it might be. And we're getting all these constant signals saying shoot out cortisol. Now over time, our body has to become a little bit resistant to this because it can't be constantly in heightened mode.
Yeah.
But then, because it's resistant, we need to put out more and more to get the same stress signal in a time of actual stress. So our body starts shooting out huge amounts of cortisol. Over time, this gets completely out of whack. The body goes, look, I don't know when to put it out. Let's just shoot it out at all different random times. And we get in this place where we'll have peaks and troughs in energy throughout the day. We'll be laying there in bed at night, asleep. We'll hear a pin drop. Boom, we're up and awake.
Yeah,
and
that's me to a T. I have to sleep with a rain generator.
Yeah, right.
So
Gotcha.
I have to have white noise, or else I'm up.
Gotcha.
But yeah, caffeine. Like you did say something before pre-workout. A lot of people go, "Oh, what's the net? I need something stronger." It doesn't work enough.
Constantly stronger.
That's a sign of adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue. Cortisol's been pumped for way too long. You need to rest and restore.
Bingo.
There you go.
The caffeine part's an interesting one because I think a lot of us are running on artificial energy.
Yeah.
I found it was the most simple thing I ever heard recently, but it was really so just spelled it out so perfectly. If you're using a supplement that gives you energy that has no calories in it, then you're basically borrowing time. You're on borrowed time.
Yep.
You're running on artificial energy. You're running on adrenaline, not actual cellular energy. If your pre-workout doesn't have actual calories, doesn't have protein, carbs, or fats, you're not actually producing energy. You haven't got an energy donor. You're literally just producing synthetic energy.
There's no energy at a cellular level, so you're literally just sitting there going, "Okay, this is great," but it's not good.
It's great. It's fun for now. Like we just finished training, obviously, at the Australian Muscle Gym. Had a cracker one. I was running flat, dumped some caffeine in. Great aid. Did the trick. We got through the workout. Life's good. But as a stimulant, much like our other stresses, drives up cortisol. Now this is great in certain times, bad in others. So why don't we go through, I guess, some common symptom pictures of if stress is high. Let's look at what are those symptom pictures. What does that look like for the average person? So I guess we touched on the sleep part. If you find that you're having very light sleep, very broken sleep, if you're a restless sleeper, if you wake up several times throughout the night to go to the toilet, that's a common one. Waking up and really dragging ass as well for the first part of the day is super common for people. I find that's probably the most common. People waking up and they feel like they haven't slept at all. Yeah. Waking up drained and they start the day already empty. And they reach the first thing that you get out of bed and it's like, I can't function until I have my coffee. If they have friends in your family that are, I'm not a morning person, don't talk to me until 10 a.m, whatever it might be. Yeah. Well, evolutionarily, we were meant to wake up. We are morning people. Yeah,
circadian rhythm. Light hits your eyes, you wake up, you're humped. That's it. We're mammals.
We are, and we're meant to get, and that's I guess one of the great lifestyle hacks behind it is getting up, and we were designed to get up and move. So getting up, movement first in the morning is a great way. Get up, get some sun exposure, and move. But that's a great one. So dragging us. Now, when we are reaching for our coffee, we find that stimulants are not as effective. Over time, we're finding we need more and more caffeine to give us the same amount of energy. That's a common symptom. So if you find that you're going from one coffee to a double shot coffee, to two coffees, to two double shots, you just need more and more coffee. Or pre-workouts, you went from a half a scoop to a double scoop, and now you're finding you're still not getting any kick anymore. What's happening is you're running. Your cortisol and adrenaline are all in the same pathway. So if you're here and you take a stimulant which will jack up cortisol, you'll get this adrenaline release, and you'll feel that's your noticeable change in energy and arousal and cognition. But if you're always running redlining, you're always up here. Take a stimulant, you haven't got any more to give. You've only got
You've hit the roof.
You've hit the roof, and you're running at the roof the whole time through. So when you throw, it's why you'll see, I've seen 60 kilo nurses coming in double scooping pre-workouts, and they're feeling nothing. And you're like, that's 500 milligrams of caffeine. You're 60 kilos. This should be melting you. Yep. But it's adrenal dysregulation. So all these things, be immune to stimulants, but also finding in the gym setting, really slow recovery. So if your DOMs just aren't going away.
Yep. Inflammatory responses,
massive. So lots of niggles as well. If you find a lot of your old injuries and niggles are just sticking around for ages. You also find that between recovery and niggles, also your ability to build muscle or even hold on to muscle. If you find that during dieting, muscles just falling off, particularly arms and legs, extremities.
Yeah, extremities, yep.
So extremities are a really big one. So if you find your arms and legs disappear, you'll hear this from a lot of people in prep, their quads just go. Like legs are a very hard thing to maintain during preps. That's a super common sort of sign as well. Because what it's happening is we're in our flight or fight mode. The cortisol is saying, I need resources to burn. It'll pull as much blood sugar as it can to burn. Once it's out of blood sugar, it'll start getting the next most available source, which is basically amino acids from your muscle. So gluconeogenesis bumps that straight through to give you your next sugar hit. So it'll break down muscle, and particularly the easy to get stuff like arms and legs. So it wants to break down muscle and it wants to store it around our midsection. So the other big thing you'll see, if you've got a stubborn lower stomach, like I do, it's a killer. It sticks there no matter what. It's resistant to diet. Seems the harder you diet and the harder you train, the more it stays. And the reason being, you're driving harder and harder on that stress response, you're more and more sympathetic. But essentially that lower stomach, if you find that just doesn't move, that's a really common sign. I see that all the time with stress people, it's the last place to move. So I guess the picture of someone who's dealing with stress is the central adiposity, that midsection staying there, lower stomach, muscle wastage on arms and legs, not recovering, niggly injuries. We're foggy-headed. We have no, attention spans short. Our short-term memory's shot. We're not sleeping. We're not switching off. We're feeling tired but wired as well. We mentally can't quite switch off, but we're absolutely exhausted physically. But our heads just
going a mile a minute.
Going a mile a minute. These are really common symptom pictures. So, I guess this is where supplements like that became so useful to so many different people. Like if there was anyone watching this video that, hell, if you've never stepped foot in a gym, doesn't matter. If you're a busy parent, this is great for you. If you're someone who's, you're just a tradie with a physical job, say, like anyone at all, teachers, parents, the amount of people that use Restore, I've got people suffering with PTSD, I've got veterans, I've got absolutely everyone, shift workers, nurses, emergency workers, like paramedics. I have people who, from all walks of life, using Restore for a million different reasons. I've got sales reps, busy people working in retail with long hours. The amount of people that use this product is amazing because of just the sheer range of stresses we face now. So I guess it's probably handy just to run through the quick pathways we cover with the different ingredients.
Definitely.
Ashwagandha, go for gold.
Ashwagandha, it's an adaptogenic herb. So what this means, it's going. If you are low, it's going to bring you up to baseline. If you're running too hot, it's going to bring you down to baseline. So it's not going to, synthetically make you feel wired or bring you down. It's just going to adapt. Your body's going to adapt and overcome that because that's what you need to do. Again, it's a flight or flight response. We need to adapt and overcome. So ashwagandha is a very, very powerful botanical.
It is powerful,
and it's been around for years, but it's only started being utilized
recently.
For that particular thing. That and Schisandra, of course, and two together usually work very well in that way. But you don't have Schisandra, and you've gone with holy basil.
Yeah, and lemon balm. And they're twofold reasons. One is that I really love the data they found on lemon balm and holy basil for particularly their effect throughout the day. So what I found was that the main time I recommended Restore was before bed, because I always think, if nothing else, if we can get our sleeping deeper, get more REM sleep, we get a much more restorative effect on our adrenals, right? So that's the main time people are using it. Now, what I find is that a lot of people who are stressed, we tend to have a lot less GABA activity.
Gamma-aminobutyric acid.
Bingo. Yep. So So when we're finding that we're constantly in flight or fight state, we're putting more votes towards glutamate, the sort of more, neurotransmitter, which is a bit more stimulatory and more of an irritant, and we're putting less and less activity towards GABA. Now, GABA's a really beautiful. I guess if you ever had the feeling after having a warm shower. That sort of nice, dopey, nice, comfy feeling. That's what GABA does. It's a beautiful thing. And around bedtime, ideally, it should elevate slightly and give us that nice, just drowsy, comfortable, the world's all good.
Yeah, it stimulates serotonin.
Bingo. Tied in beautifully. And serotonin, again, our nice contentment, feeling good, well-being. So, I guess it's a really, really necessary neurotransmitter. And both of these are quite low in stressed people. So lemon balm, holy basil are GABAergic.
Yep.
So is the passion flower. So I wanted to put in a fair few things to throw votes towards boosting GABA, because I figure that's something that's quite low. And a lot of people who have, getting high cortisol, they'll have, a lot of symptoms of stress and anxiety throughout the day.
Yep.
So if we want to try and help them combat with not just cortisol at night, but also feeling less stressed and wrung out throughout the day, I wanted to put in things, that's where lemon balm and holy basil shine at sort of more the chronic stress and anxiety through driving that GABA pathway and really helping to blunt that more sort of, your 24-hour sort of stress response, I suppose. So I feel like, for example, in studies with holy basil in particular, they found something like 75% of people experience remission from symptoms of insomnia. Like really, really massive.
Yeah.
Like 3/4 of people with insomnia using it found they could get superior quality of sleep. So same with remission. I think it was about 85% remission from symptoms of stress and anxiety as well. So really, really potent at helping improve markers around stress, anxiety, broken sleep, and perceived stress as well. So yeah, really, really nice botanicals. And same with passion flower extract. Passion flower is the actual fruit, the actual flower on passion fruit vines, and it again is a strong GABAergic agent. So it'll boost that GABA and help push votes away from the flight or fight brain, where we're basically running off our amygdala, the basal brain, and push us back into our more rest and digest, more GABAergic dominant sort of path.
So more like your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system sort of responses in this way.
Bingo. And that's a good one to touch on, I suppose. Like the whole goal of this product is to get more people spending more time in parasympathetic, so rest and digest, versus sympathetic, so flight or fight. We're trying to give you more and more time when you're using this product. We're trying to give you more and more time in that parasympathetic place, rest and digest, giving your body a chance to wind down, run a bit slower, actually repair, rebuild, recover, do all the great functions like build muscle or burn fat or just generally feel better, sleep well, have good energy production, all the great things that happen. Let our hormones recover as well, because cortisol tanks testosterone, increases estrogen, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, look, I put in that's where the ashwagandha comes into. At 600 megs, it really drops the hammer on it. Like 300 milligrams used twice a day was shown to decrease cortisol by 32%, but also increase testosterone by 15%. But at 30, if you drop a hormone by a third, that's huge. So that's where the ashwagandha came in, driving the GABA with lemon balm, passion flower, holy basil. And then finally we're throwing in, I wanted to hit it from the oxidative stress angle as well. So I threw in the resveratrol for the antioxidant side of things. And then I also found that a lot of people, as I mentioned in our Nourish video, for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, it's going to be up very soon. I find that a lot of people when they're stressed, shuts off digestion, because as we said before, we're in survival mode, so our body doesn't need to break down food. It's not time to sit down and have a big feed when we're getting chased. It's time to push all that blood into our muscle. So I put curcumin in because a lot of people have gut inflammation, and chronic stress is very tightly correlated to gut inflammation via zonulin. And so what I find is people have got bloating, digestive issues, usually have some sort of low-grade gut inflammation. So curcumin is one of the strongest anti-inflammatories that works in the gut. Most NSAIDs, like most anti-inflammatories, they actually ulcerate the gut. They're actually negative on your gut, whereas curcumin's a really strong anti-inflammatory in the gut. So we're going to dampen inflammation, oxidative stress, boost GABA, lower cortisol. I'm trying to hit it from every possible angle. And then finally L-theanine, just to top it all off. L-theanine actually stops cortisol from binding to receptors in your brain, so stops those stress hormones from actually binding to receptors, which is quite damaging over time in your brain as well. So it helps to keep you again in that nice parasympathetic state. They liken L-theanine to being basically supplemental meditation. They say having L-theanine has a similar effect to being in a meditative state.
Okay.
So yeah, apparently monks used to use it, or at least they used to use green tea, where you'll find that's the natural source of L-theanine is green tea. They used to use that before meditating to help them get into that sort of deep reflective state. So L-theanine is the final thing to top it all off.
Beautiful. And then you've obviously the black pepper extract, the bioperine for
the curcumin.
Get
that curcumin in there. So yeah, look, overall hit it from every angle. But whatever we can do to lower cortisol is going to help with recovery, with sleep quality. If you're somebody who struggles with sleep, struggles to switch off at night, has broken sleep, this is like, if nothing else, a sleep formula. This guy here will work. Yeah.
So you could take, just say for people with those insomniac, and the insomniacs, 4 tabs before bed. Beautiful. Or if you're, you take 1 in the morning and 3 at night, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. Would you recommend one over the other, or?
Yeah, look, I tend to find that most people, I push them more towards the all 4 before bed.
Yep. Okay.
I think if nothing else, let's get someone sleeping deeply, and look, but also dial that up and down. So my main recommendation is the use in the evenings, and I guess the reason being is getting that deep quality of sleep, getting that more REM sleep as well. So all 4 before bed. Now, You can also, 4 is quite a heavy dose though, so you might find that some people benefit more from 2 to 3 capsules as well, depending. So in periods of high stress, lean more towards the 3 to 4. In periods of more moderate stress, you can lean more towards 2s and 3s before bed. Everyone's a little bit different with where we're at now in our stress levels and with our sleep quality. So I always like to recommend start at the full dose and work backwards, just so you get if nothing else, you get a crack of sleep the first time. I always say just start at around the 3 to 4. 4 is really fun for sleep, and dial up and down from there. So yeah, go the full serve. Work backwards if you'd like. A lot of people get great sleep still from the half serve. At a half serve at the 2 capsules, it's still stronger than a lot of the adrenal supplements on the market anyway. So like you sort of covered even at the 2 capsules. But I've got enough in there to have a full month's supply at 4 caps.
Beautiful.
So
and this retails for $79.95.
$79.95 for 120 capsules.
Look at that. That's beautiful value for money. Available now at Australian Muscle. Free Australia delivery on that one as well. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.